mentioned demos, right? When you create a demo,
The vital importance of software selection to the enterprise. Joining us to speak about that today is Gabriel Gheorghiu, Software Selection Project Manager at Technology Evaluation Centers. Gabriel, welcome.
thank you, Russell.
Gabriel, I guess we at the top of the interview said that this was vitally important. Well, let's explain that. Just why is software selection so important to a company?
Well, first of all, think about the budget, right, for software selection. I mean, even for smaller companies, when they buy solutions for ERP, for instance, they spend a lot of money. The other thing is that when you buy a system, you better buy it for the next 5, 10 years or more, right? And that, even with the latest technologies like the cloud and everything, it's still quite expensive. So you don't want to spend all that money for something that you may need to change in 3 years or less.
Well, clearly then it is important. So then what do we do? How do we go about it? What are the steps that we need to take? Walk us through those, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. The first and probably the most important step is to make sure you understand your specific needs as a company, right? That is an internal process. Of course, you can get external help for it, but it's your responsibility to do it and to do it right because everything else depends on it. Okay. Once you've done that, you need to put it all together in a list of requirements. Some call it RFI or RFP or RFQ, it doesn't really matter. And you need to take that list and to go to vendors and try to find which are the vendors that can provide that to you. Okay. When you do that, obviously you will come up with a list of vendors, either a long list or a short list, and you need to somehow differentiate them. Okay. Then you will go into all kinds of things like doing demos. You can ask pricing. You can see how vendors deliver things because they don't all do it out of the box. Some may require customization. Some have partners for different types of functionality. So you need to know exactly how they do it. You can only see it during a demo, right? Of course, when it comes to pricing, you can get lots of discounts and prices. List price is probably never the price that you will end up getting for software selection. And based on all that criteria, including other factors like reference checks, which are very important, you will end up selecting a winner.
You know, it occurs to me that there may be best practices that I should be aware of if I'm going to involve myself in something that, as you note, can be very expensive and certainly I would imagine is complex. So what might some of those best practices be that I need to be aware of?
For one thing, for instance, I mentioned demo scripts, right? Mm-hmm. When you create a demo script, there are sets of best practices either for your industry, like this event is about ERP for distribution, or you could be a manufacturer or anything. So you need to make sure that you focus, again, on the needs that you determined in the first step. The trick with the demo script is that it can be too vague because then you're not going to see much, but it can't be too detailed because then you get into technicalities and it may take you a lot of time and you end up confusing everyone, the vendors, the users, everyone. So you need to find, the middle way. You need to find a balance between your needs, but without going into, again, specific things that may not in the end be that important for your process. That would be one best practice. Mm-hmm. The other best practice is to try to understand, first of all, as I told you previously, which are the vendors that could provide you what you need. But remember that most vendors deliver that through partners. So it's not so much the vendor, but the partner that delivers the software that's important to you because you're going to get stuck with the partner for the rest of your, implementation and maintenance and everything. So assessing the partner is also important, probably more important than assessing the vendor itself.
Is this something that I can do by myself? I mean, I confess to you that I think if I were to embark on this journey, I would feel a bit uncomfortable. So your advice to a company that says, I think what our need is, an ERP system or whatever it might be, before they make that rather large technology investment, is it something they should embark on by themselves or should they get external help?
Well, theoretically you could, right? And to be honest with you, depending on the size of your company and on the budget and what you're looking for, getting help is definitely important. For smaller companies, less. For larger companies, it's almost a must-have. It's almost critical, right? The problem with doing it yourself is that, first of all, that's not something that you do on a daily basis, right? You probably do it every 3 or 5 years or 10 years when you change or select new ERP. The other thing is it's not going to be your full-time job, okay? Sometimes, yes, there are IT managers, they are assigned to do that as a full-time job, but they all the time they have something else to do in the company, so they cannot dedicate all of their time for that. And finally, you don't have all the information. I mean, you could go on the website, you can subscribe and buy white papers and reports and, all the research, but compiling all that, and you don't have the experience with software selection, okay? Finally, a trap that usually fall into when you do it yourself is that you're not objective. I know people who implemented the system, the ERP-X, 5 years ago. It worked well for that company. Now they're in a new company and they want to go to ERP-X again. But that's not the right approach. It may not work for your new company for their needs.
This is interesting because, it occurs to me that sometimes the needs of a company may be so complex that a company is not entirely sure of what it is that they need. Maybe they need external help, helping them identify what their needs are. And then, as you say, trying to match those needs, the requirements that you have with the capabilities of systems that various vendors have. And you don't have the information, at your fingertips, et cetera.
Absolutely.
The takeaway, it seems to me, is that perhaps you are advised to at least inquire about someone else helping you with this selection. Is that your view?
Absolutely. And, even when you determine your needs, you need to determine your priorities, right? Because you have a list of requirements, okay? From that list, you need to take a second look and think about, okay, which ones are the most important, which ones are nice to have, right? Because if I go to a vendor with a list of, 2,000 criteria for my ERP for distribution, and I tell them this is everything I need, okay? Yes, they may fill it in, they may respond to your RFI or whatever you send them, but then when you select systems, you cannot do a demo for 2,000 criteria, obviously. It would take probably a week to do that, right? So how do you select? You select based on your priorities. Out of the 2,000 criteria, you will say, okay, I need, for instance, asset management, I need warehouse and distribution, and I need picking and packing is very important for me. So you will highlight those and you'll focus on those, okay? Now, in order to do that, you need more than just understand your own business. And if I may, sometimes it is a challenge for people to understand their own business because they're too used to their internal processes. And you know how it is. Sometimes from the outside, you can see things that people from the inside cannot.
This is valuable information, Gabriel, when I think about it. You may have just saved somebody valuable time and certainly saved them some money. Listen, I know you're busy, but you found time to speak with us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Russell.
Well, that's Gabriel Gheorghiu with TEC, Technology Evaluation Centers, speaking with us today about the vital importance of software selection in the enterprise. Well, thank you for watching.